itangirwe ku mugaragaro. Inama y'abakuru b'ibihugu rero akaba atari yo yonyine iba muri uyu muryango, haba hari izindi nama zitandukanye ziyishamikiyeho nk'uko muzi izabanjirije iy'abakuru b'ibihugu mwabonye ibirori byo kwifungura ku mugaragaro ku munsi w'ejo. Hari izindi nama zagiye zibanziriza, yaba iy'urubyiruko, yaba iy'abari n'abategarugori, yaba yewe n'iya societe civile cyangwa se iyo twita inama y'abaturage cyangwa se People's Forum. Hakaba hari n'inama ku bucuruzi cyangwa se inama y'abikorera Business Forum. Tugarutse ariko ku nama y'urubyiruko, hari byinshi urubyiruko ruba rusaba abayobozi muri uyu muryango. Hari ibyifuzo urubyiruko ruba rwaragiye rugaragaza mu buryo bumwe cyangwa ubundi, rwifuza ko byakwitabwaho n'abakuru b'ibihugu n'abaza guverinoma muri uyu muryango. Umuryango utuwe na miliyari 2.5, ariko mu by'ukuri aho usanga abarenga 50% ari urubyiruko. Ni imbaraga zikomeye rero zikwiriye kwitabwaho muri uyu muryango. Akaba ariyo mpamvu muri iyi inama y'abakuru b'ibihugu n'abaza guverinoma haba hari inama yiswe Paul Kagame ndetse na Minisitiri w'Intebe wa Canada Justin Trudeau, yewe tutibagiwe n'umunyamabanga mukuru wa Commonwealth Madame Patricia Scotland. Mu kanya gatoya tukabagezaho ibiganiro bigiye kubera ahangaha.
Tunatamani kutangaza plani kero bonse vele na kitikani bashimanyana bana muna kidi tutwane ko batala basade rejamadi jaga metsane kipiya piano 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 piano
nka CHOGM dukomeje kubagezaho inama zitandukanye, ni inama n'ubundi zishamikiye ku y'abakuru b'ibihugu mwakurikiye kuri uyu wa gatanu yaraye itangirwe ku mugaragaro. Inama y'abakuru b'ibihugu rero akaba atari yo yonyine iba muri uyu muryango, haba hari izindi nama zitandukanye ziyishamikiyeho.
The Right Honorable Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada. The Right Honorable Fiame Naomi Matafa, Prime Minister of Samoa. The Right Honorable Patricia Scotland, the Commonwealth Secretary General. The Right Honorable Philip Davis, Prime Minister of Bahamas. The Right Honorable Andrew Holmes, Prime Minister of Jamaica. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the 7th Intergenerational Dialogue. My name is Jean-Claude Mutabazi, and I will be your Master of Ceremony. Today's dialogue will be between heads of government and 5 common youth representing the regions of the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth Youth Council Chair and the Secretary General of the Commonwealth will also participate in this dialogue. Now, without further ado, allow me to welcome Mr. Kim Allen, the Commonwealth Youth Council Chair, to kickstart the dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you, Master of Ceremony. Your Excellency, Mr. President Paul Kagame, Right Honorable Patricia Scotland, Secretary General of the Commonwealth, and Excellencies, fellow delegates. Thank you so much. Good morning all, and thank you so much for giving this privilege and opportunity for young people to be here with you. It's a great privilege to be representing 1.2 billion young people across the Commonwealth. My name is Kim Allen. I am from Papua New Guinea in the Pacific, a land of 1,000 tribes, traveled 1,000 kilometers to a land of 1,000 hills. It's representing 1,000 people, young people. So thank you once again for giving us this opportunity to speak to you. This week's engagement brought a lot of young people, energetic, creative, across the Commonwealth. And I would like to extend on behalf of the youth delegates and the young people and the youth networks and stakeholders present during the Commonwealth Youth Forum, our sincere gratitude and appreciation to the government of Rwanda, for hosting this. The people are beautiful. Your hospitality is really welcoming. Thank you so much. The discussions has been great all throughout, the issues that have been raised. And I would like to focus on 2 issues, 2 recommendations from the Commonwealth Youth Forum with the team taking charge of our future. And I've been really privileged to be engaging with the young people and even the ministers who are present during the forum. They are creative and innovative, and what they require is the participation. And here in this room, we are grateful at seeing your commitment towards young people to be participating in the same table discussions, to hear from us, at the same time work together collaboratively to addressing these issues. I am well aware of I read through some of your profiles, knowing that given the privilege to speak to you, and I see most of the young leaders here. Prime Minister, I can see he's smiling directly to me. He has been a youth advocate. Even the President, I was at the market yesterday, the young people there really appreciate your leadership, and even excellencies around for your commitment towards young people. Partnership is key towards young people. Youth networks across the Commonwealth have existing and the stakeholders structures in place, and they're willing to work together with you. And you are working under your lead, and of course, through your sound guidance and wisdom, this provides it coherent working together. Number 2 is resources and finance. Commonwealth Youth Council lacks the resources. We are here on a voluntary basis. The roles that are given here are all voluntary. Even the council itself, the youth networks that are here with us and the regional representatives here, it's all voluntary. So you can see our commitment towards working with you. But without financial support and resources, we couldn't do this without you. Therefore, we call on your support as youth. You have been through this experience through life, and we're willing to work with your guidance and wisdom. And of course, those sound advices from you will give us this strength to work together into the near future. Excellencies, once again, Mr. President, all excellencies, thank you so much for hosting the Commonwealth Youth Forum. It's a great privilege to be here. And thank you to the people of Rwanda. And my fellow youth delegates, I pass to them to reiterate some of those recommendations. Thank you.
Your Excellencies, thank you all for being with us today. I am Christabel Quinsley Derby from Ghana. I am the Vice Chairperson, Inclusion and Engagement for the Commonwealth Youth Council. The theme for this year's summit is taking charge of our future. And as the theme says, according to recent statistics, there are about 1.2 billion young people aging from 14 to 24 years. And out of this, Africa has the largest population with young people, with about 40% of this population being young people from the age of 15 years and below. Your Excellencies, as the youth population is increasingly demanding more just, equitable, and progressive opportunities, the need to address the multi-factor challenges that faces our young people, such as access to education, healthcare, gender equality, and employment is becoming more challenging. Africa is at a tipping point and at a risk of failing its youth. The key step forward is ensuring that our leaders create that enabling environment for young people to thrive in Africa. Answers must be given to the following questions. First, how can employment opportunities be provided for expanding youth population? 2, how will Africa ensure it does not lose its youth to extra-continental migration or extremism, fueling instability and reversing decades of progress? What do African leaders need to do to reconnect with their largest constituencies? Your Excellencies, the youth of the Commonwealth want to take charge of our future, and we can do this with your support by creating an enabling environment for the youth of Commonwealth. Thank you.
Excellencies, good morning. I am Fahmida Faiza, the Asia Regional Representative at the Commonwealth Youth Council, and I'm a Bangladeshi youth leader here for the first time, elected at the Commonwealth Youth Council representation on charge of the Asian youth. Among the Commonwealth youth population, Asia hosts the largest number in terms of the young population of Commonwealth. However, there are critical challenges, especially post-COVID dynamics, that has created the scopes of economic empowerment and the capacity building for young people, which we have discussed as part of the human development and the youth development portion of our CYF declaration. Excellencies, young me would never believe that I would be sitting here sharing the regional youth's voice in front of the key decision makers. And this also brings me a huge responsibility to take it forward as we talk about taking charge of our future. Excellencies, this is what taking charge of our future looks like, putting young people in the same place beside the chair where the key policymakers are sitting. However, when I go back home, I want to tell the young people of Asia that we were not just given a seat, we were given priority. And this can be ensured by your continued commitment towards young people. We are very grateful and thankful for your continuous support, and we want that to be extended as we take charge of our future. We want our future to be sustainable. We want a future free from violence, free from poverty, and free from any kind of worry that the young people ever has to think of. And the future is with all of us. Right here, right now, we are writing our future. So let's join hands, and thank you once again for your attention.
Check, one, two. Your Excellencies, good morning. I am Kendall Vincent, Chairperson of the Caribbean Regional Youth Council. So, I'm very, excited and, extremely grateful for the opportunity here to share with you, we, the young people of the Caribbean and by extension, the wider Commonwealth, is grateful for this opportunity, to take charge of our future. So firstly, let me extend, gratitude to the government and to the President and the government of the people of the Republic of Rwanda. But let me say in terms of the Caribbean, I just want to kind of re-emphasize, some of what my colleagues have been saying here this morning. But let me specifically place emphasis on the need of access when we talk about COVID-19, and we see that we have moved towards a digital world. So therefore, there are young people that we represent who are not able to sit in these rooms. They come from rural communities, they come from minority groups, and therefore access is important. So one of the key outcomes, one of the key actions coming out of the Youth Declaration is where the young people, we as young people reaffirmed, or we ask the support for governments to continue to work towards ensuring that there's digital transformation and that we, continue these, COVID created rooms and platforms or opportunities, I should say, for innovation where we would have work from home, those sorts of opportunities. So I just want to re-emphasize and, take the opportunity to call or to ask that we continue to governments take the opportunity to continue to ensure that we continue to move forward towards digital transformation and, of course, most importantly, inclusivity and, of course, access to opportunities for young persons regardless of where they may be. Thank you.
Good morning, Excellencies. A genuine thank you for your time here today. My name is Namir. I'm coming from the UK, and I am the regional representative for Europe and Canada. And what I wanted to very quickly speak to you today about is a key theme that came out over the Youth Forum, especially for our region, but I would also say for the entirety of the Commonwealth, and that is the future of work. What does the landscape really look like around the corner? And on the plane here, I was reading this report, mainly because the movies on my seat weren't working. I won't name the airline, but that was a really interesting report because it said that over the next 8 or so years, 100 million people will be in a completely different job. Maybe some of them don't even exist. And so this entire landscape is changing, which is great news because it's an exciting time to be. And at the heart of that transition are going to be green jobs and blue jobs. Great news. But the problem with that is we're not preparing our young people and our children for that transition. We're not saying or catering their education to make that happen. My brother is in year 8 right now, so he's 12, 13 years old, and he's a coding fanatic. He really, really loves it. He knows coding languages more fluently than I can speak English, which might be a low bar. But he is so engrossed and ingrained in that he's managed to find those resources, but he's the exception. There aren't those structured learnings available to really help him pursue that. And think about how many young people across the Commonwealth we have that aren't able to pursue those opportunities. And that's why we as a team, as a Commonwealth Youth Council, but also as youth representatives over the last week, are really keen to work on a holistic education to solve that issue. And we want to work with youth ministers and education ministers. We want to work with organizations like the Commonwealth of Learning and the private sector to build a consensus, an idea of what a curriculum should like in the modern day. And that's quite exciting. Now, the reason I really want to bring this up in this space and this room particularly is we are a uniquely young partnership. I know the statistic, everyone has heard this a million times before, but I'll just say it one more time. 60% of the Commonwealth is young. So surely the responsibility lies with us to really spearhead that movement, right? Education should be something that can really be a flagship statement to the rest of the world saying, we want to invest in our children, we want to invest in their futures, and we are preempting the issues we're going to face in 8 or so years when all these issues are coming together. So that's the last message I want to leave you with, is that this CHOGM could really be immortalized for one reason, which is we're reimagining what education can look like. And I'm really excited for that being a possibility. Thank you very much.
Your Excellencies, good morning. My name is Shagufta and I represent the Pacific region and the voices of my Pacific youth. So we are all aware of the problems that the Pacific region faces, and I don't want to talk about it again and again. Today, I want to bring forward some solutions that our young people want. I'm grateful to represent my region because most of the times they're not included and their voices are not heard, especially at forums like this. So I'm grateful for the opportunity. Thank you. Sustainability and climate change crosscuts across all of the sectors and issues and problems highlighted by my colleagues here today. We want easy access to climate finance, such as green bonds, blue bonds, and sustainable carbon trading practices. Why? So we can build resilient infrastructure, resilient buildings, so small businesses can continue their operations, so they can continue creating employment for young people instead of rebuilding again and again and again. Resilient infrastructure for schools, so our young people's education is not affected. Access to healthcare facilities and hospitals. Accessibility for universal healthcare, especially preventable diseases like cervical cancer, ensuring that all young girls and boys have access to vaccination. Your Excellencies, I call upon you to support youth-led initiatives like A4HPV, Commonwealth's first youth-led task force to eliminate cervical cancer. During COVID, Your Excellencies, while the developed nations had access to remote work and remote learning opportunities, our people were left behind because our young people living in remote island communities do not have access to reliable and affordable ICT infrastructure. So today, I call upon you to support us so we can have access to high-quality, sustainable digital infrastructure, digital inclusion, digital literacy for young people in the Pacific, especially for those living in remote island communities. Access to reliable infrastructure will also help us diversify our economy, which has been reliant on tourism for decades. And with COVID, the entire industry was decimated. People lost their jobs, their livelihoods, they were on streets. We need to create new markets and opportunities, like the development of outsourcing in ICT sector, which has the capability of creating thousands of jobs across the region. And we have seen this work already. However, let me draw your attention to the volcanic eruption that happened in Tonga. Our people were disconnected from the world for days. While we are building a new economy, should a disaster like this reoccur, our resilience will be tested again. It is not fair. We have only one line that connects us to the world, a single source of failure. And it is also expensive and it's unsustainable. We want sustainable oceans, sustainable environmental practices, so that our young people are not displaced and they have a place to call home. We want our voices to be included in discussions about trade, entrepreneurship, and employment, because we want to work in areas we are passionate about. We all want to serve a purpose, and we want to take charge of our future. We are ready to take that responsibility. Our artisans, our athletes, our entrepreneurs, our healthcare workers, our students, all the young people want to work with you to drive these actions forward. Choose to trust us, elevate our voices, and let us make our own choices. Things will happen once you choose for it to happen. Your Excellencies, it's your choice to take us forward with you or to leave us behind. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wonderful discussions. Another round for the youth leaders. And I would like to recognize other heads of delegations here present who have joined us. Your Excellencies, youth have set their priorities. They have concrete actions. They want to be engaged. And this is all about this dialogue. We are now going to open the floor to hear from our heads of government as they reflect and give responses to these priorities set by youth. And please allow me to start with our host, His Excellency, President Paul Kagame. Mr. President.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me thank the Excellencies who are here, who took time to come and join this roundtable. Secondly, I want to thank the young people. I mean, it is very clear the young people have mastery of the challenges we all face together, but also issues and what needs to be done to deal with these challenges. So I wanted to thank you also for that articulation of really what needs to happen and the challenges. I mean, it is clear the way the whole world, and particularly the young people, they face problems of climate change, of unemployment, and access to skills, to finance, to technologies. All of these are things that we have to pay attention to together. So today, I'm sure leaders will have many things to say that will lead us to how we address these challenges. But most importantly, working together is the first thing. Together as members of the Commonwealth, together the young, the old, so that, there are not going to be always just the problems for the youth and then problems for the old and then problems. I think there are those that cut across and we share. So that's why it is important that we work together. So what we can say as leaders, at least on my part, I know similar to others, is to commit ourselves that we shall listen, we shall work together, we shall find solutions along the way. There is no question about it. So the commitment is the most important thing, and we can move along together. Rwanda has 30 years and below, we have 71% of our population. So you can understand we have an idea of what these challenges are. And, but we are more than happy to work with everyone, with the other countries in the Commonwealth, and the young and the old. So thank you very much, and I looking forward to these times ahead of so many challenges, but even more opportunities. So let's find a way. May I now invite or hand over to the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau. Thank you for being here with us as well.
Thank you, Mr. President, for hosting this and for making sure that the youth have an important voice here at this Commonwealth meeting. I want to specifically thank the young people, Jean-Claude, Kim, Christabel, Famida, Kendall, Namir, Shagufta, and everyone else who's here. I know there's a tendency when we have gatherings like this where young people come and present and share their perspectives for a lot of us in the room to nod and say, those young people are the future leaders of the Commonwealth. You are the leaders of tomorrow. And I don't want anyone to think about that anymore with you young people. We don't need you to be leaders tomorrow when you do a few more years of school and work your way into politics or business and then suddenly become leaders. We need you to be the leaders you are today. We need to recognize that the words you have today, the voices you have today, and not just the things you can tell leaders like us that we should be working on, but the things you can do and must do yourselves is what the world needs, is what the Commonwealth needs. To build on what Paul has said, we need you acting. And in order to do that, we need to make sure we're empowering you as much as we can. So it's important to have these sessions now where you get to report directly to a collection of us of all the things you're working on. But what happens between Commonwealths as well. How we actually empower you to weigh in and shape the things, whether it's educational programs and the jobs of tomorrow, or whether it's economic opportunities, or whether it's fighting climate change. You should be directly contributing to the policies and the positions that the Commonwealth puts forward as an organization and that all of us bring back to our countries as well. It is more than just checking in with young people, because what we need right now in all our governments, in all our organizations, is more long-term thinking. Politicians, we tend to work on a shorter-term cycle. What's gonna help me get reelected? What's gonna matter to people who are worried about inflation and the cost of food, the cost of fuel right now? And yes, that's really important, and we stay focused on that. But we also have to know that the decisions we take now will resonate for a decade, for a generation, for 100 years, particularly when we talk about things like climate change. And that's where your perspective of not thinking about, well, what are you going to be doing next year or the year after that? Well, how are you going to be living 20 years from now? What kind of future do you want to build for your grandkids, which you haven't really thought about yet? That level of thinking is essential in government. One of the things that Canada did when I first got elected was I created the Prime Minister's Youth Council. And it's, well, lots of people have youth councils, and it's a very trendy thing to do as politicians. But what we made sure to do is actually connect those young people to the levers of power, to shaping policy, to sitting down and working with ministers on different things. And yes, they reshaped Canada's youth policy that made it into legislation and is now shaping the way we actually engage and empower young people. But they also weigh in directly on issues like reconciliation with Indigenous people and how the government's doing on that, and climate change. And they're helping shape policy in a way that isn't just, well, this is what young people think, I hope government takes it away and does something with it. And that's what we need from all of you. We need you to be involved, but we also need one other thing. All of you who are sitting in this room, engaged in leadership and politics, you have 6 or 7 friends, or maybe 20 friends, who are impressed that you're doing this, but could never see themselves doing this, or don't particularly want to be interested in politics. Don't think it has anything to do with them. You need to help us as leaders, as organizations, connect with them too. Because if we don't bring all young people along in demanding and shaping the better future for themselves, for their community, for the Commonwealth and the world, then we're missing an opportunity to actually get it right. And right now, the amount of trouble in the world means that if we don't empower you to help shape how we all fix it, then we're not going to get it right. So I am deeply, deeply grateful to see all of you here and look forward to continuing to work with you and a lot of exciting young people like you in the coming years as we tackle these big problems and solve them together. Merci, mes amis.
Thank you so much, Your Excellencies. Allow me also to recognize other heads of delegations that are here present. The delegation of Zambia, thank you for joining us. The delegation of Botswana, thank you. The delegation from St. Lucia, the delegation from the Gambia, the delegation from Cameroon, delegation from Seychelles. Thank you all for joining us. Now, allow me to continue this discussion and welcome the Prime Minister of Samoa, the Right Honorable Fiame Naomi Matafa.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I just wanted to, I'm looking around the room. All the young people were looking at their phones when they were speaking. You know, that's their record. And us older people have got the paper. As many, probably many of the leaders here today, for myself, I was a youth leader. And so I'm sort of really relishing the opportunity to be sitting now around this circle with the youth leaders of today. Listening very carefully. The issues are the same for youth as they are for our communities and general population. But there are particularities, of course, that I don't need to speak to with being young. I take my lead from the president of Rwanda, essentially in wanting to say any approaches that we take have to be holistic or whole of society approaches. Governments can no longer do things by themselves, whether we ever thought we could do things by ourselves. But I think there is a growing acknowledgement that governments are not enough. And in going forward, we need to ensure that all of society is involved. The second comment I wish to make, my neighbor here on my right, reimagining. And I think we are at a juncture that gives us the opportunity to reimagine where we thought we were going and how the crises confronting us, the pandemic, the climate change. And I really do, from a small island state, it has become very apparent that we do need to reimagine. We need to reframe, redefine our development concepts. And it's also, and I think all this is premised on what are the values that we want to ensure is the basis from which we work. And one of the messages I've received again and again at this meeting, at the ministerial level and at the leaders level, is that value of care for each other. That each of our survival is dependent not only on looking out for your interests, but looking out for the greater interest. So one last practical thing. As small island countries reporting to various agencies, so perhaps the SDGs is one reporting, because it does give us an idea of what we're doing, how we're progressing, and if in fact what we thought we were doing is the right thing to do. So, just from a practical point of view, in Samoa, we have quite a few programs going, as I'm sure in many other countries. We have, of course, the youth farmers, the youth internships, our street vendors back to school program, green jobs for green work, young weavers program. We have a seasonal workers scheme, and the Youth Entrepreneurs Council under our Chamber of Commerce. And we have the Youth Employment Program, the Youth Co-Lab, and it's supported by UNDP and ILO. So I just wanted to put it on the table because I think it's important when we're having these kinds of discussions that we can actually hang, some of the concepts and ideas that we're talking about some of the actual work that we're doing. And, it's good also with our youth leaders here, whether you are thinking these have been useful, if they are good, if they're not, why are they not working? So thank you very much.
Thank you, Prime Minister. I would like to recognize the presence of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Pakistan. Thank you for joining us. And the Minister of Youth, Nigeria. Now, let's turn our attention to the screens as we are about to hear from the message of the Prime Minister of Pakistan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Prince Charles of Wales and the Duchess Camilla of Cornwall, honorable heads of government of Commonwealth countries and observers, the Right Honorable Patricia Scotland, Secretary General of Commonwealth, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum, good morning from Pakistan. Although I'm not able to be among you in person, it is my honor to address this august gathering of Commonwealth family. I would like to convey my felicitations and profound gratitude to President Paul Kagame, the government and people of Rwanda for hosting this meeting in the beautiful city of Kigali. As we unite here today to think about the future of our nations, I appreciate the impact such multilateral forums can create to implement our shared values and principles as per the Commonwealth Charter. Excellencies, more than 60% of the total population of Commonwealth countries comprises of youth, which holds the future of our world in its hands. Further, with the increased role of technology and use of digital medium, we have come to realize that digital transformation is the key to achieve innovative, inclusive, and sustainable growth. Therefore, I express my resolve to take such measures that can help in decreasing digital divide and promote literacy and skills to our youth in all forms of education and learning. With immense pride, I take this opportunity to announce that Pakistan has been given the honor to host the 10th Commonwealth Youth Ministers meeting at its federal capital, Islamabad, in January 2023. I invite Commonwealth Youth Ministers to visit Pakistan, explore the beauty and diversity of our beautiful country, and give us a chance to show our hospitality. We stand ready to contribute to the collective endeavors for development of Commonwealth youth. I thank you all. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim.
Thank you. I also recognize the delegation from Malaysia and Fuji. Thank you for joining, guys. Your Excellencies, we have His Excellency the President of Seychelles, who have joined us, and I would like to invite His Excellency to say a few words as reflecting to these youth priorities. Your Excellency.
Thank you very much. And again, I'd say thank you, Your Excellency Paul Kagame, for having so warmly welcomed us in this beautiful city of Kigali. Sitting where I am and listening to the youth, I must say I've been most impressed. I think the way you've laid out your thoughts and your aspirations have just been wonderful, and I congratulate you for having done so openly and so frankly. As a politician, it is always a priority to look at our youth because, as we all are aware, the youth will decide whether we are elected or not. But at the same time, as we go about campaigning, we realize that more and more our young people become disconnected with the politics. Many countries will tell you registration processes for voting shows that the youth tend to keep away. And I think this is a very important observation that we need to make. Why do the youth keep away? And the reason is simple. They do not feel that there is anything in politics for them. They do not feel that the leaders are speaking on their behalf. And at the same time, many feel that they are not being considered. And that it's always, as Prime Minister Trudeau said, it's always about the future. And at the same time, I think the youth also have a very important role to break this cycle. Instead of keeping away, you've got to get in. And it's only by getting in that you will make your voice heard and changes will happen. If you do not do that, you will always be considered as future leaders. But what I've heard this morning are not the voices of future leaders. They are the voices of today's leaders. You are leaders in your own rights. And again, let's go back to the politics. In most manifestos, you will have a section on youth. And this is something that I've avoided in doing. I've said the manifesto is about the country. The manifesto is about the people. And our young people form part of the country. If we're talking about health, if we're talking about education, if we're talking about everything, science and technology, employment, it's about everybody. So we need to integrate. I believe in inclusivity. And I look around the world as well, and I discover how it's our young people who are leading the climate change agenda. Look at what has just happened in Australia, change of government. I believe it's the young people who brought about this change. When I attended COP26, it was about young people setting the agenda. Everywhere, young people are standing up, and I am one who believes in our young people. And for this reason, at the last elections, I nominated 2 young people. And today in my parliament, the youngest is from my party, 22-year-old gentleman and a 26-year-old lady. And they are doing a marvelous work. So I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you, and I want to tell you, get in there, do the changes, make your voices heard, and it's only, sometimes you may feel that you're in the wilderness. It's a lone voice. But remember, lone voices then become powerful voices once they are heard. So be there, be part of the change that your country needs, be part of the change that, in order for mindsets to transform. And I want to wish you the very best. I want to encourage you because the Commonwealth needs its young people. You are the young leaders. You are leaders. I didn't say leaders of tomorrow. You are today's young leaders. Transform the agenda. It's in your hands. We are moving on. I mean, I'm a little older. I'm moving on. But take the place and be there. Keep the work going, and make your voices heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And a big thank you to Your Excellencies. These are the insights and these are the commitments these youth leaders have been looking for and they're looking for. Thank you. Another round of applause for the Excellencies. Our next speaker is the Right Honourable Patricia Scotland, the Commonwealth Secretary General. I invite you, Honourable Secretary General, for your remarks.
Thank you very much. Firstly, can I join everyone in really congratulating His Excellency President Paul Kagame, because what we have seen in Rwanda is not just words, but we've seen the dream come true. And in 28 years, Your Excellency, you have transformed this country and transformed the prospects for young people. So, forgive me for a moment, just to say to each and every one of my young leaders, how proud I am of you. We have been on a long journey in the last 6 years, and we have listened to each other so trenchantly. When we came together in Uganda, we made a number of promises to each other. And I heard you when you said, we don't want to be on the menu, we want to be round the table. And so I feel immense pride in each and every one of you. And you know that the 60% of the Commonwealth who are under the age of 30, you're all mine, every single one of you. And the pride I feel today is immense, because you have demonstrated why the chairs in which you today sit should be owned by you, are owned by you. And I want to say to each and every one of you how profoundly proud I am of you, and how much love and affection I have for each of you. Because you today have spoken not just for yourselves, but you've spoken for the billion more young people who cannot be here, whose voices are rarely heard, but all of our leaders are listening to you. Today is a moment for us to reset the agenda, for us to start to reimagine what our world could be, what our world should be. And you are shaping it for us and with us. If you look at who the real innovators are, they are people under the age of 30. If you look at the new geniuses that are coming up, I'm thinking of your brother or your sibling who's 12, some of them are 9. And they are gaming, and they are reshaping. And we are determined to reshape with you. And part of that reset is that today, the 8 organizations, and if I may, can I just ask those 8 organizations who are going to form part of the new Commonwealth Alliance for Quality Youth Leadership, just to stand up so that we can see you. The 8 organizations. These 8 organizations are world leaders in supporting young people. And all of us here present want to thank you. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for walking with our young people as they need your support. And I'm thanking you in advance for what I know you will do together in order to help our young people to achieve that which we all know they can. And if I can ask John May to stay standing, because John May, of course, is the Duke of Edinburgh's award. And we know that the one person who is unfortunately no longer with us is His Royal Highness, the Duke of Edinburgh, who for more than 100 years led the way on believing in youth at a time when no one else did. And I know how much he believed in what you could achieve. So I'm going to ask John to just say 1 minute on behalf of the 8 organizations about your aspirations and what we are now together going to do. The young people have told me we're going to rock the world. Notice, not just the Commonwealth, the world. So over to you, John, for 1 minute.
Your Excellencies, the world is changing. Around the world, people are understanding that, of course, a formal education and qualifications for young people are vital. But if young people are going to become active citizens, then they need skills, behaviors, attitudes, values that are not just learnt in the classroom. What goes on in the classroom is only half the story. To be truly world ready, they need experiences outside the classroom to understand the importance of service to their fellow human beings, to develop skills, to learn about leadership. And our organizations, representing 250 million young people worldwide, are committed to helping to develop a holistic education for young people and working with young people, not for young people, but working with young people, wherever they may be, to help them reach their potential. But we need your help. We need your support.
so that education is not just perceived to be something that goes on within the hallowed halls of classrooms, but happens everywhere a young person may be. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your help. And let's reimagine together.
Thank you, John. And I also want to thank every single leader in our Commonwealth, because none of our leaders are Johnny-come-latelys. The Commonwealth has been doing this for more than 50 years. And today, we are on the cusp of something quite extraordinary, and I really want to thank Pakistan, really want to thank them for the fact that we will together, all of us, be going to Pakistan in January to make that dream a reality. And the leaders in our Commonwealth don't just talk, they do. And today is the beginning of what will be an amazing year, because in 2023, it's going to be the year of youth. And so I thank you all profoundly. But all of you know something else about me, because every time we meet, I ask you, what are the 3 things that you are going to do by the next time we meet, which will make the world better? And so far, normally you come out with 10. So I'm saying thank you in advance. But I would like all our young leaders to thank the leaders of today who have had the courage to sit beside you. Because now you own them. And so would you kindly show your appreciation to the fabulous leaders that we have in our Commonwealth who have sat with you, who've listened to you, and who are now with you in partnership going to change our world. Could you just show them how much you appreciate them? Thank you. And thank you, President Kagame, for allowing us to come together in your beautiful country. Thank you for believing in young people. Thank you for believing in our Commonwealth. And thank you for making the dreams of so many no longer a dream, but a reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary General, for your remarks. Your Excellencies, we thank you. We thank you to join us this morning. This marks the end of our program, but before you depart, there is a group photo. I now invite all the heads of government, all the heads of delegations, and the youth who have spoken to proceed for a group photo. The protocol will guide this process. Thank you. As the group photo is being taken.
nk'uko mwarimu bikurikiye rero iyi nama ya karindwi izwi nka Intergenerational Dialogue ikaba isoje imirimo yayo n'inama ihuza abahagarariye urubyiruko mu muryango wa Commonwealth ndetse n'abayobozi bakuru b'ibihugu. Inama ibaye ku nshuro ya karindwi no muri inama ya CHOGM rero Intergenerational Dialogue nayo ikaba yarateganyijwe ndetse ikaba imaze guhuza abahagarariye ibice bitandukanye byo muri uyu muryango. Ndavuga abahagarariye urubyiruko haba muri Aziya, Afrika, muri Pacific na Caribbean, mu Burayi na Canada, ni ibice bitandukanye bigize umuryango wa Commonwealth. Abahagarariye rero urubyiruko rwo muri ibyo bice bitandukanye bakaba bamaze kugirana ibiganiro n'abakuru b'ibihugu bari aha ngaha, birumvikana barangajwe imbere na Perezida wa Repubulika Paul Kagame ugiye no kuyobora umuryango wa Commonwealth mu myaka 2 iri imbere. Hari kandi na Minisitiri w'Intebe wa Canada Justin Trudeau n'abandi bakuru b'ibihugu n'abaza guverinoma bitabiriye iyi inama ya CHOGM hano mu Rwanda, tutibagiwe n'umunyamabanga mukuru wa Commonwealth Madame Patricia Scotland. Akaba rero ari ibiganiro mu by'ukuri biba bigamije kugeza kuri aba bakuru b'ibihugu ibibazo urubyiruko rubona bibugarije n'uburyo urubyiruko rutekereza ko bikwiriye gukemuka. Icyo abanyacyubahiro bose bijeje urubyiruko rwa Commonwealth nuko amajwi yabo yumvikana, nuko ibibazo byabo byitaweho, aho mu by'ukuri bahabwa umwanya n'urubuga bakwiye kuko ari uburenganzira bwabo kugira ngo banagire uruhare muri uko gushaka ibisubizo by'ibyo bibazo bitandukanye, ibibazo by'ubushomeri, ibibazo bagaragaje hano bijyanye n'imihindagurikire y'ikirere, ibibazo bitandukanye mu by'ukuri byanagaragaye mu gihe cy'icyorezo cya COVID-19, ubusumbane mu bijyanye no kugera ku ikoranabuhanga rishobora gutuma mu by'ukuri mu gihe cy'icyorezo cya COVID-19 abantu bari gerageza guhangana n'iki cyorezo. N'ibibazo bitandukanye urubyiruko rwagaragaje hano, ariko rwijejwe ko mu by'ukuri ubuyobozi buhari muri uyu muryango kugira ngo ibyo bibazo byose bibonerwe umuti, ariko kandi nabo bakabigiramo uruhare mu buryo bumwe cyangwa ubundi. Reka tubashimire, tubifurize gukomeza kugira weekend nziza aho muri mwese munogerwa na gahunda Televiziyo Rwanda dukomeza kubagezaho.